Have you ever stood in front of your closet, surrounded by pieces you've owned and loved for years, and quietly wondered, why don't I feel like myself anymore? A woman I once met, 62 years old and a retired teacher, shared something that stayed with me. She said, I still wear the same blouses I've had for a decade, but lately, I don't recognize the woman wearing them. And maybe, just maybe, you felt that way too. Reaching our 60s isn't the end of personal style. In fact, it's the beginning of something far more intentional. It's when style stops being about trends or approval and starts becoming a reflection of the wisdom we've earned and the elegance we now embody. But let's be honest. Some pieces that once felt flattering now feel off. Some shapes that once brought joy now feel like work. In this video, we'll gently uncover 10 common blouse styles that may be silently working against you and explore beautiful, thoughtful alternatives that bring comfort, confidence, and grace back into your wardrobe. Along the way, I'll share stories from women just like you, real moments, honest shifts, and reflections you might quietly nod along with. And at the very end, I'll tell you about one single detail, small, almost invisible, that might just be the most powerful style shift of all. Stay with me, you won't want to miss it. You won't. 1. When a blouse stops serving you. Not long ago, I pulled out a blouse I used to love, soft ivory, delicate puff sleeves, gathered tightly with elastic just above the elbow. It felt charming, romantic even. I wore it to my garden club brunch, thinking it would make me feel like my old self again. But standing in front of the mirror that morning, something didn't feel right. The blouse fit the way it always had, but it didn't fit me, not anymore. After 60, your body changes in quiet, natural ways. Your arms may soften, your skin becomes more delicate. According to Harvard Health, women lose about 2% of their collagen each year after 55. Sleeves that cinch or bunch around the upper arm can draw attention to those changes in ways that feel more critical than kind. I looked at myself and saw how the sleeves made my arms look stiff, even swollen. It didn't flatter me, it boxed me in. Worse than how it looked was how I felt. I found myself adjusting the sleeves, crossing my arms in photos, sitting differently just to hide that awkward tightness. I wasn't present. I was distracted. And fashion should never make you feel that way. Eventually, I swapped it for a blouse I had tucked away, soft rose pink, flutter sleeves that floated just past the elbow, made of light viscose. When I slipped it on, everything changed. I wasn't thinking about how my arms looked. I felt open, elegant, and completely myself again. At this stage in life, clothing should honor who we are today, not who we were, or who we think we need to be. If a blouse demands more of you than it gives, maybe it's time to let it go. So, let me ask you, when was the last time you wore something that truly felt like you? Do you reach for outfits out of habit or out of love? Does what you wear give you freedom or force you to hide? You deserve comfort. You deserve grace. You deserve sleeves that move with you. And you deserve more moments like the one I had with that rose pink blouse. Quiet, confident, and full of ease. Now let's talk about another style mistake many women make without realizing it. One that feels like a safe choice, but often leaves us feeling invisible. 2. When boxy blouses make you disappear. Not too long ago, I bought a soft beige blouse. It was loose, boxy, and had no shape at all. No darts, no waistline, no structure. Why did I buy it? Because it was comfortable. It fits everyone, the store clerk said. And at 60, comfort starts to sound like a great reason. But then came the family photo. I was standing with my grandkids at a barbecue, smiling, holding a plate of peach cobbler. Later that evening, when I saw the photo, my heart sank a little. That blouse made me look wider, shorter, and strangely absent. I blended into the background. It was like my body had no definition, no presence. Have you ever looked at yourself in a picture and thought, is that really me? Have you ever worn something roomy and ended up feeling like you were hiding inside it? Many women over 60 gravitate toward boxy tops to mask the changes our bodies naturally go through. Softer waists, rounded shoulders, shifting posture. But these clothes, while easy to wear, often take something away from us. According to a recent AARP survey, 71% of women over 60 say they feel less visible after menopause. That invisibility isn't just emotional, sometimes it's sewn right into our clothes. So what can we do instead? Blouses with gentle shaping can make a world of difference. Look for soft waist darts or side seams that follow your natural line. Princess seams, those vertical lines that run from the shoulder to just below the bust, create a flattering feminine silhouette without being tight. Wrap-style tops are especially forgiving and elegant, allowing flexibility while drawing the eye to the waist in the most flattering way. I now have a deep olive green blouse with subtle shaping and a soft high-low hem. I wore it on a walk with my daughter one afternoon, and she turned to me and said, "Mom, you look taller and slimmer in that top." I smiled the rest of the day. Let me ask you, does the blouse you wore yesterday reflect who you are? Does it let your shape breathe and shine, or does it flatten and hide it? Are you choosing comfort, or are you settling? Clothes should not silence you. They should help you speak without words. And just when you thought comfort was enough, we'll take a closer look at something even more important: the fabric that touches your skin. 3. When the wrong peplum cut does more harm than good. For years, I adored peplum tops. The gentle nip at the waist, the feminine flair that followed, it always made me feel polished and put together. Even in my 60s, I thought it was the perfect way to maintain a flattering silhouette without trying too hard. But I've learned that not all peplum designs are created equal. One evening, I wore a black peplum blouse to a dinner with old friends. I felt confident as I left the house. But later, when I looked at a photo someone had taken, I hardly recognized myself. The blouse had a high waistline that sat just below my bust, and the flare started so abruptly that it made my midsection look bulky. My torso seemed shorter, and I looked heavier than I felt. The style was working against me, not with me. Have you ever worn something you thought would slim you down, only to feel like it exaggerated everything you were trying to soften? Do you sometimes feel like a blouse is forcing your body into a shape that doesn't belong to you anymore? The truth is, many modern peplum designs have waist seams that are too high and flares that are too sharp. According to InStyle magazine, nearly 60% of women over 55 say that high-waisted tops make them feel imbalanced and self-conscious about their lower stomach. It's a common issue, but one that's easy to fix with a few design tweaks. The key is in the proportion. A well-cut peplum blouse should feature a soft waistline that sits a bit lower, about 1 to 2 inches below the bust. The flare should drape gently toward the hips instead of flaring outward dramatically. This subtle shift in structure can completely transform the way you feel in the garment. I now have a lovely olive green peplum top made from a silk viscose blend. The waist is relaxed, and the flare falls softly around my hips. I wore it recently to a cafe with friends, and one of them said, "You look so elegant and taller today." That moment reminded me that flattering fashion is less about trends and more about balance. So let me ask you, do you have a peplum blouse in your closet that makes you stand straighter, suck in your stomach, or avoid certain photo angles? Does it feel like your body is being reshaped to meet someone else's standards? You deserve clothes that follow your natural lines, not restrict them. And just when you think it's only about the cut, next we'll explore something even more personal: the very feel of what touches your skin. 4. The cap sleeve trap, when small sleeves make a big problem. A few months ago, I picked up a lovely lavender blouse with cap sleeves. It looked fresh, simple, and easy to pair with my favorite white slacks. But the moment I stepped out into natural light and caught my reflection in a shop window, I knew something was off. Those tiny sleeves cut right across my upper arms, making them look shorter and bulkier. I suddenly felt self-conscious and stiff. Have you ever worn a top that made you want to keep your arms pinned to your sides? Or noticed how your shoulders and arms looked broader than usual, even if you hadn't gained a single pound? This is something many women over 60 experience. As we age, hormonal shifts and the natural loss of muscle tone can cause fat to settle more in the upper arms and shoulders. According to Mayo Clinic, women over 60 experience about a 10 to 15% increase in upper body fat distribution compared to earlier decades. That makes cap sleeves, those short, snug sleeves that stop mid-arm, one of the least forgiving styles for mature arms. The problem is not just physical, but visual. Cap sleeves create a harsh horizontal line right at the widest part of the upper arm, drawing attention exactly where most of us would rather not. They also break up the shoulder line, making the torso appear boxy and the arms shorter. So, what's the alternative? I've started choosing sleeves that offer softness and flow. Flutter sleeves are my favorite. They gently drape over the arm, adding a touch of grace while camouflaging what you don't want to spotlight. Kimono sleeves are another excellent choice. They're cut wide and straight from the body, offering coverage without clinging. Elbow-length sleeves with a subtle flare also work wonders to elongate the arms and balance the silhouette. I own a cream-colored cotton blouse with flutter sleeves that feels like it was made just for me. I wore it to brunch with friends last month and didn't think once about how my arms looked. That kind of ease, that kind of freedom, is what we all deserve. Let me ask you this. Do you have blouses in your closet that make your arms feel bigger than they are? Do you avoid certain angles in photos just because of how the sleeves hit your shoulders? Are you holding onto cap sleeves because they feel classic, even if they don't feel good? If the answer is yes, maybe it's time for a sleeve update. And just when you think the sleeve is the only detail worth reconsidering, the next thing we'll talk about is even more personal. It's something you feel the second it touches your skin. 5. When minimalist blouses start to dull your light. Not long ago, I went through a phase where nearly every blouse I owned was either dove gray or pale beige. Soft fabrics, solid colors, no prints, no embellishments. I thought I was making sophisticated choices. Less is more, right? But then, during a reunion brunch with some former colleagues, a friend greeted me with a smile and said, "I almost didn't recognize you. You look a bit muted." She didn't mean it unkindly, but it struck a chord. I had started to disappear into the very clothes I believed were tasteful and timeless. Have you ever worn a blouse that seemed fine on the hanger, but once you looked in the mirror, your face looked washed out? Did the color make your skin seem dull or tired, even when you were well rested? According to research from the Pantone Color Institute, very pale neutral tones like cool grays, soft beiges, or off-whites can make mature skin appear up to 30% more lined and tired than richer, warmer tones. These light neutrals lack the contrast needed to bring color and vitality to the face, especially for women with silver or fair hair. The solution isn't to jump into loud neon or wild patterns. It's about choosing deeper, more saturated tones that bring life to your skin without overwhelming your look. I started replacing my washed-out tops with blouses in rich jewel tones like sapphire blue, ruby red, emerald green, or amethyst purple. These colors reflect light beautifully and lift the complexion. I also began wearing prints again, but very intentionally. Subtle tone-on-tone patterns or soft watercolor florals add dimension without distraction. One of my favorite pieces now is an aubergine blouse with a faint abstract texture. I wore it to my 65th birthday dinner. My niece came over, hugged me, and whispered, "You look like you're glowing." And I felt it. Not because of shimmer or sparkle, but because the color helped me shine. So, let me ask you, are you wearing colors that make your skin look brighter, or do they fade you into the background? Do your clothes reflect your energy, or do they mute it? Fashion is not just about fabric. It's how you announce your presence to the world. And if you've ever believed that plain is safe, what comes next might make you rethink what safe really means, especially when it comes to how your clothes feel the moment they touch your skin. 6. Cheap polyester, when the real cost isn't on the price tag. Not long ago, I picked up a navy blouse on sale. It looked elegant, the stitching was neat, and the price, just under $20. I thought I had found a great deal. But the moment I slipped it on and stepped outside, I knew I had made a mistake. Within minutes, my skin felt warm and trapped. I was sweating even though it wasn't hot. That blouse clung to me like a plastic wrap, and all I wanted to do was take it off. Have you ever worn a blouse that made you feel overheated even while standing still? Have you found yourself scratching at your skin or tugging at fabric because of discomfort? The issue, more often than not, lies in the fabric, specifically cheap polyester. It's widely used in clothing because it's inexpensive, holds color well, and resists wrinkles. But according to the American Academy of Dermatology, skin becomes thinner, drier, and more sensitive as we age. That makes synthetic materials like polyester a poor choice, especially for women over 60. They trap heat, prevent breathability, and can make hot flashes or skin irritation significantly worse. A 2020 study from the European Textile Institute found that 90% of women over 55 reported feeling noticeably more comfortable when switching from synthetic fabrics to natural alternatives like cotton, viscose, or bamboo jersey. So what's the solution? Don't let a low price tempt you into discomfort. I began replacing my synthetic blouses with styles made from breathable, skin-friendly materials like cotton silk blends that are soft and absorbent, viscose, a semi-natural fabric made from wood pulp, known for its airy drape, bamboo jersey, which is hypoallergenic, cooling, and naturally antibacterial. One of my favorite tops now is an olive green blouse made from bamboo jersey. Even on warmer days, I feel fresh and at ease. No itching, no sweating, no adjusting. And most importantly, I don't even think about what I'm wearing because it works with me, not against me. Let me ask you this. Do you own blouses that make you feel uncomfortable by noon? Have you ever found yourself needing to change halfway through the day, not because of style, but because of how your skin feels? Fashion isn't just about how you look. It's about how you feel in every moment you wear it. And just when you think the fabric is the smallest part of the outfit, in the next section we'll look at a design detail that can quietly affect how confident you feel the moment you enter a room. 7. When high, tight collars work against you. I used to own a cream-colored blouse with a high buttoned-up collar. It reminded me of classic elegance, like something Grace Kelly might have worn. I loved how polished it made me feel, like I was put together and ready for anything. But during a family gathering, I caught a glimpse of myself in a mirror and paused. My neck looked shorter, my chin seemed to fold into my collar, and my shoulders appeared tense. That beautiful blouse was doing the exact opposite of what I hoped. It wasn't flattering, it was suffocating. Have you ever worn something that made your neck feel stiff, or your head feel like it had no room to move? Have you looked in a photo and wondered why your face looked heavier, even though nothing else had changed? According to the American Academy of Dermatology, the skin on our neck is one of the first places to show signs of aging. It's thinner, has fewer oil glands, and is more prone to sagging and lines. Wearing tight, high collars only emphasizes these changes. In fact, research published in the British Journal of Aesthetic Nursing found that close-fitting collars can visually shorten the neck and jawline by up to 15% in photos and direct sightlines. This is especially true for women with shorter hair or updos, so I began to let go of those tight, structured necklines and instead chose softer, more open designs. A gentle V-neck does wonders for elongating the neck and drawing the eye downward. A modest scoop neckline keeps things demure while allowing space around the collarbone, and a boat neckline can balance your shoulders and brighten the face in the most effortless way. One of my favorite blouses now is a lightweight linen-cotton blend with a shallow V-neck. It lets me breathe, both literally and emotionally. I feel taller, softer, and more approachable. So let me ask you, is there a blouse in your closet that makes you feel like you're hiding behind your collar? Have you ever blamed your haircut or makeup for looking heavy in photos, when it might just be your neckline doing the damage? Sometimes all it takes is opening up the collar just a little to let your elegance come through again. Your face deserves to be framed with softness, not restriction. And just when you think you've addressed shape, fabric, and neckline, the next design detail we'll explore might surprise you. It's one that whispers rather than shouts, but it says a lot about who you are. 8. When too many details steal the spotlight. I once bought a soft pink blouse with oversized ruffles down the front, stiff puffed sleeves, and a large retro-style bow at the neck. On the model, it looked dramatic and chic. When I put it on, I hoped for elegance. But instead, I felt like I was wearing the costume of someone louder than me. Have you ever worn a blouse that made more noise than you did? Do you ever feel like people are noticing the shirt before they notice you? At this stage in life, what many of us are seeking is refinement, not fuss. Big sleeves, tiered ruffles, and dramatic embellishments can overwhelm rather than enhance. According to a style survey from the Senior Style Council, over 65% of women aged 60 and above said that overly detailed clothing made them feel dated or out of sync with their current identity. I remember clearly how uncomfortable I felt wearing that blouse with the oversized bow. In every photo, the neckline seemed to swallow my jawline. Instead of looking timeless, I looked like I was borrowing someone else's decade. So what's the better approach? I began choosing pieces that had clean lines with subtle, intentional accents. A gentle flare in the sleeve, for instance, adds movement without screaming for attention. A blouse with an asymmetrical neckline or a single pleat adds visual interest in a whisper, not a shout. Even a tonal texture, like a light jacquard or embroidered trim, can add personality while staying polished. One of my favorite blouses now is made from dusty rose silk with a soft flutter sleeve and a slightly off-center V neckline. It's simple but special. I don't have to explain it. I just wear it. And it speaks for itself. Let me ask you, are your clothes making statements you no longer believe in? Are they louder than your presence? Do they distract from the woman you've become? We don't need fashion to invent our personalities. We need clothing that allows us to show up fully, quietly confident. And if you've ever worried that simple equals boring, the next piece we'll look at might change your mind. Because sometimes the quietest fabric says the most about how you really feel. 9. When sheer becomes too much. I once had a sheer nude blouse that I absolutely adored. It was delicate, floaty, and felt incredibly feminine. The fabric was soft and translucent, and I imagined it would give me that effortlessly elegant look. But the moment I stepped out of the house, I began to feel uneasy. With every step, I found myself asking, is this too revealing? I clutched my bag across my chest, stayed close to walls, and avoided bright light. Have you ever worn something that made you feel anxious even though it looked stylish? Have you spent more time adjusting your blouse than actually enjoying your day? Sheer fabric can be beautiful. It can look graceful, airy, and modern. But without the right structure underneath, it often leaves us feeling exposed. At this point in life, how we feel in our clothes is just as important as how we look. According to a survey by Women's Wear Insight, over 78% of women aged 55 and above admitted to feeling insecure in sheer blouses that lacked proper lining or structure. It's not that they oppose the idea of subtle sensuality. What they reject is the discomfort of second-guessing themselves all day long. So I didn't give up on sheer. I just got smarter about how I wear it. I now choose sheer blouses that include an inner lining, usually in a matching or nude tone. I also love tops that use sheer fabric just on the sleeves or shoulders. It adds texture and interest without making me feel overexposed. And when I do wear sheer, I pair it with a high-quality camisole, smooth, skin-toned, and seamless. One of my favorite looks now is a long-sleeved sheer blouse with a light silk lining on the body. I feel elegant, softly confident, and most importantly, I'm not constantly thinking about what might be showing. So, let me ask you, do you own a blouse that makes you adjust your posture just to feel secure? Are you dressing to be seen or dressing to feel free? Fashion is not only about appearance, it's about how we inhabit ourselves in each moment. And if you've ever thought appearance is everything, what comes next might just shift your perspective. Because sometimes what draws others in isn't what they see first. It's how completely at ease you feel in your own skin. 10. When cuteness crosses the line into costume. A few years ago, I picked up a pastel pink blouse that had "Forever Fabulous" written across the front in bold silver letters, with a scattering of glittery hearts. It looked playful, lighthearted, and I thought to myself, why not try something fun for a change? I wore it to the park one afternoon with my granddaughter, but almost immediately I felt uncomfortable. Not because the blouse was tight or itchy, but because it felt like I was wearing someone else's style. The attention wasn't on me. It was on the oversized slogan plastered across my chest. Instead of feeling youthful, I felt like I was pretending to be younger than I was. Have you ever worn something that made you feel like you were playing a role rather than being yourself? Have you chosen a top just because it looked cheerful, only to realize it didn't reflect your real energy? There's nothing wrong with joy or whimsy, but at this stage, alignment matters more. Blouses with loud logos, flashy slogans, or trendy graphics often belong to the fast fashion world. They're made to catch attention, not to last. According to research from the British Fashion Monitor, nearly 70% of women over 55 said they had purchased something to feel younger, and quickly realized it didn't represent who they were. When a design tries too hard to be trendy, it can feel like a costume. It pulls focus away from your presence and places it on the message, the brand, or the gimmick. That shift can make you feel less grounded, less real. I slowly began to edit my closet. I moved away from mass-market graphics and toward pieces that felt intentional. I now seek out blouses from smaller labels or quality-focused brands, with subtle design elements like a delicate sleeve detail, a unique neckline, or mother-of-pearl buttons. The pieces don't shout. They speak softly but clearly. One of my favorite tops now is a muted sage green blouse with a curved neckline and floaty sleeves. No writing, no branding, just thoughtful construction. When I wear it, I feel like myself, not a younger version, not an older version, just me as I am. So I'll ask you, are you choosing clothes that express who you are or who you think you're supposed to be? Are you drawn to what's trendy or to what makes you feel rooted? Fashion is not about playing dress up, it's about presence. And presence doesn't need glitter or slogans to make an impression. And if you've ever felt torn between fitting in and standing out, what's coming next might give you the clarity you didn't know you needed. Because sometimes simplicity is the most powerful kind of style. If there's one thing I hope you take away from this conversation, it's this. Turning 60 is not the end of style. It's the beginning of something more authentic, more grounded, more beautiful. At this stage in life, fashion isn't here to impress anyone. It's here to support you, reflect you, and remind you of the strength and softness you carry with every step. So tonight, when you're alone with your closet, I invite you to open it with fresh eyes. Gently pull out one blouse, the one that no longer feels like you, the one that once served a purpose, but now feels heavy or silent. Thank it and let it go. And then, when you're ready, begin looking for something new. A blouse that feels like today, like the woman you've grown into, the woman who chooses comfort without compromise, elegance without apology, and presence without pretense, because you deserve that. You've lived enough life to know what feels good, what feels true. So let your wardrobe reflect that wisdom. And always remember, dress like a woman who knows her worth, because you are the one who defines your style.